Hello and welcome to Torsey Waldridge Kitchen Gardener. As we now step into August, we really need to think about what crops we can sow this month, which we will then be harvesting in spring next year. And also as well, I will go over crops that we can still sow direct into the soil, but you need to make sure that you get it done this month because light levels are starting to drop off now. The night temperatures are going to be getting cooler. We haven't had the most amazing summer, so you can't hope that we're going to continue to get any decent weather. So it's really important that those crops get into the ground as soon as they possibly can, so you get them to ripen and harvest before winter really hits in. There are two really important crops that I like to sow in the month of August, and those are your overwintering Japanese onions and spring cabbage. I generally sow my Japanese onions the second week of August, but you can sow them normally the second or the third week of August. And the same as with the spring cabbage. Get that growing as soon as you possibly can and try and get them in the ground in September if you're growing in cells or trays in your glass house. And that will just extend the growing season for you, so you're able to harvest onions so much earlier than all of your main crop onions. And the same as with your cabbage, you can either have it as a leafy cabbage or you can wait for it to heart up a little bit late or early in the year. Around May time is normally when I start harvesting stuff. If you're sowing direct into the soil, you really need to make the most of August because this is potentially the last month that the soil's nice and warm, the day temperatures are still fairly stable, but then after August, you know, the nights start dropping off, so it's really important to think about what crops that you want to see you up and maybe through those beginning winter months. So there's still time to sow beetroot, Swiss chard, you can still get Florence fennel in the ground. A lot of your salading crops can still get bunged into the ground or sown direct. I've also been sowing winter carrots. Make sure that they are a winter variety, so mine's called Eskimo, and they've got a really good holding ability in the soil, especially with lots of rainfall. They're less likely to split than your main season carrots, so you want to make sure that you look up your varieties, especially if you're growing some crops, later crops, that they can withstand some of the cooler winter temperatures. I think one of the things that we can start taking advantage of now is as we pass the height of the summer, we're then getting into slightly cooler weather, and that actually opens up windows for us to be able to grow crops that we might not be able to grow or not successfully grow within the summer months. Stuff like spinach, I find radish bolts pretty quick in the summer months. Also, you can grow pak choys a lot easier. So there's certain crops that I don't ever grow throughout the summer months, but as we are in spring or we go into autumn, you're able to grow the crops that wouldn't be able to be grown in that middle block of summer. So make the most of different crops that you haven't been able to grow throughout the summer months. If you're growing polytunnel crops, it's really important to start some of those crops off now, especially ones that take a little bit longer to germinate or establish into a reasonable plant, because by the time that you're planting them into your polytunnel, you want them fit and ready for those colder winter months, so at least you can get some sort of a harvest out of those. And polytunnel crops that I like to get going, especially now, is like parsley, coriander, chervil. They're really good herbs, quite hardy herbs that will see you through those winter months. You can also as well get all of your chicory sown. You can do beet leaf. I'm going to start sowing a load of a Mange 2 pea crop, because as soon as those tomatoes and cucumbers and aubergines have been cleared out the polytunnel, I will then be filling it full of veg that I've already pre-sown. So I won't be sowing direct into the polytunnel because there just won't be enough time in what we have left of the summer for those plants to get established enough. One of the jobs that you guys can get on with is pruning some of your summer fruiting plants. So here we've got sunberry, tayberry and loganberries. They've all finished with their fruiting now. They've sent out all of these lovely new shoots that need to be tied in. So what I do is I take away all of the old fruiting growth, and you can normally tell at the base, if you get right into the bush, you can cut out all of those old stems, and then you've got these lovely new fresh stems, and this is what will bear next year's fruit. So tie it in nice and neat so it's all ready for the winter, because as soon as the winds start hitting, you'll find that a lot of these will snap. And like I say, you want to keep these as good as you possibly can, because this is what is bearing next year's fruit. If you guys have got summer fruiting raspberries, now's a really good time to clear the crop out of all of the old fruiting stems from this year, like I did with the normal summer fruits. Just take out those old stems, tie in your new ones, it cleans it up and makes it look really nice. I generally keep my strawberry plants between 3 and 4 years. Normally on the 4th year I dig them up and they're out of here. If you've got a really healthy stock plant and you either want to increase your strawberry crop or you need to replace it, then take all of the runners off of it. They're absolutely brilliant. It's a free way of doing it. Like I say, just make sure you've got a healthy stock plant, because otherwise they can be prone to some viruses, and it will obviously get passed down through the runners. But what an amazing way of producing hundreds more strawberry plants, and everybody loves a strawberry. My brassica crop is so tall now I can't cover it with enviromesh, but that means that it's exposed to the cabbage butterfly, which can be a massive problem. So you need to be really, really vigilant and keep on top of any eggs or caterpillars that you do find that are going to want to munch your plants. When it comes to potatoes, I only grow a small amount of a main crop called Cara. If you are looking to store potatoes over the winter months, you need to look at growing your main crops. Your first, your seconds and your salads don't store particularly well. They're more of a fresh, you dig it up and you eat it as you dig your crop up. With your main potatoes though, what you want to do, if you want to get those to store really successfully over the winter months, is you want to dig them up and just make sure the potatoes have set. So that means you get your thumb and you brush it quite hard against the skin, and if it doesn't come away and it stays firm on the potato, it's good for storing. If it comes away and you get the underlayer of the potato showing, it means it's not quite ready. So just leave it in the ground a little bit longer, then it'll be ready to store a bit later on. I can't remember if I've actually shown you guys, but I had the glasshouse floor done, which has been absolutely amazing, and it's so exciting when you get a little project sorted out. So these front beds here I'm going to do as herb beds, but I want to try and put some really kind of different herbs in there, but I've got a few at the moment which I've just set out as a bit of a display just to make it look a bit nicer, otherwise it's just bare ground. So in the glass house, black fly has been really bad with the melons. I've got no way of keeping it under control, so I think I'm just going to lose these 2 crops in these ones, because I looked on Instagram the other day and I had fruit hanging off of them, and there's no way that they're going to be able to produce in time by the end of the growing season. So sometimes you've just got to cut your losses, so I'll just get rid of them. I've got a load of sowings that I've done in cells, just so when bed space becomes available I can literally just chuck the crop in the ground. And because it's getting a little bit later in the season, that just gets me a little bit ahead of myself by being able to sell in the cells, because they'll have germinated and then they can just go straight in the ground. At the back there I've got the cucamelons, which are doing really well, nice and prolific. Got some shallots drying, more sowings of crops. My leeks, so scarafly this year has actually been really bad as well, so it's just warm moist soil, so I put the yellow sticky tapes down, and as you can see by that, there's a lot of flies, but there is quite a lot of scarafly on there as well. So the leek crop looks to be going quite well at the moment. The potatoes will come out and then the leeks will go in, so the bed space for that is already starting. And then we've got the watermelon mini lover, which has, if it hadn't started to produce its fruits, then that would have gone as well. But this one doesn't seem to have been hit by the black fly at all, so, you know, always something to bear in mind, isn't it? So, and this one's got a little teeny weeny baby fruit that started to develop. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they will ripen in time by the end of the season. I'm now in the vegetable polytunnel where I've got tomatoes, basils, cucumber and aubergines. So if we take a look at the aubergines, they have done really, really badly this year. A couple of them have just started, but red spider mite has just kicked in. So I'm not going to get that bumper crop that I had last year. I've done a video on grafting tomato plants, and I've done an update on that, so catch me on that video if you want to find out about my opinion of grafting tomato plants. And we've got beautiful green basil this side, which is amazing, and the purple basil this side. Absolutely brilliant crop, I love it. And the tomatoes, because we've had that cooler weather, the tomatoes are doing really, really well. So they're the beef tomatoes. In front of those, or behind them, is the cooking tomatoes, and then just loads of different varieties of popping and salad tomatoes. Back again to, so I'd grow 2 different varieties of aubergine. I've got one Bonica, which is this one, which is more of the traditional aubergine that you'll see in the supermarkets, and the other one is Farmer's Long, which is supposedly a better crop for the Northern Hemisphere. These are my cucumber plants that I've literally just stuck in the ground, I think a week or 2 ago, so they're just starting to take off because black fly hit them and just wiped out the whole 15 cucumber plants. But all in all, I mean, the tomatoes are doing absolutely brilliantly this year, so I'm so chuffed about that. I'm in the other polytunnel, so I've got all of my chilies, peppers, lemongrass. I've got ginger and turmeric growing in here, and the smell is absolutely incredible. I wish that you guys could smell it, because it's just, oh, it's just lovely, punchy and hot, lovely, beautiful smells. So this is the Hungarian hot wax, really nice, simple, really early maturing chili, not too hot either. That's 6,000 on the solvent scale. We've got Joe's super long, and it's a super tall plant. But they've got lovely, beautiful, lovely chilies, and they're absolutely brilliant for drying if you want to do a Christmas or winter display with them, because they're not too fleshy, so they dry relatively quick. And at the back there, as you can see, there's like all the ginger plants, so I'm hoping that we get a really good crop of ginger this year, because fresh ginger is absolutely stunning. And then we've got the Romano sweet peppers. Absolutely love growing those because they are quite expensive in the shop, and they're relatively easy to grow, especially this variety that I've picked up. And then we've got peppers, absolutely beautiful. Do you know what? Green peppers from the shops are horrible and bitter, but these guys are absolutely sensational. They're really sweet, and they've got that crunch that is just absolutely amazing. So, you know, even if you only grow 1 plant of a chili or a pepper, it is so worth it just to try out that flavour. It's just absolutely fantastic. Lemongrass, that is doing really, really well. With lemongrass, you want to make sure it sits in quite a lot of water, or keep it watered. It does, it's a very thirsty plant, the same as ginger and turmeric. And then we've got Jamaican jerk and another hot chili down here. They take a long time. They need a long growing season, so I'm just fingers crossed that we get some sort of chili development. Another good one, Bullet. I've actually harvested this today, but they've got nice little, I think they're more of a traditional chili that you buy from a supermarket. They've got a solvent scale of 35,000. Really quick producing chili as well, so definitely recommend growing them. And then we've got Tabasco. They were really lately sown. Germination was so slow on those, and they've actually got a bit of black fly, so not holding out too much for that crop. I've got a few varieties that I can't actually pronounce the names of, but this one's like a tiny little chilli, and it's only 400 on the solvent scale, so it's so uber duper mild, so that would go really nicely in a salad. So I grow quite a few of those. And then we've got peppers, more peppers, more peppers, more peppers, and then we've got lemon drop, which is absolutely beautiful, and it goes like this lovely lemony yellow. That's 60,000 on the solvent scale. Quite an upright, bushy at the top chili. And then we've got another one that I can't pronounce, which is quite a fiery one, little tiny. Actually, there's a, I don't even know if I can get in there to see it. If I sort of zoom in a bit, can you see there's a little bit of colour in there? There you go. So it's just starting to turn, and they're 27,000 on the solvent scale, so they've got a pretty nice wicked little kick to them. So all in all, their chilies and peppers doing really well this year. Definitely got to grow quite a few peppers to get a good quantity, you know, and then you've got to eat them fresh, but it's so worth it, and the smell in here is just absolutely fabulous. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video and the little tour and a few tips, and I'll catch you on the next one.